Good morning, compañeros. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court has now endorsed rape, 5-4. This outrage by this mutant abomination of a juridical body should come as no one's surprise after the Citizens United decision. After all, if they can butt-fuck the United States Constitution, why can't Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr. and Justice Antonin Scalia, Justice Clarence Thomas, Justice Anthony M. Kennedy, and Justice Samuel A. Alito Jr. endorse the physical violation of little people in the grip of state power? Well, there you go, Azov, making slanderous accusations about our beloved free democratic institutions. Well, fuck that. A strip search is psychological rape, no matter what the feminist purists might maintain, and the Supreme Court verdict of the 5 April Fools I mentioned allows your local police to strip you down to the short hairs for any, I repeat, any offense for which they take you into custody. This rendering of the law follows the appeal of Albert W. Florence, a passenger in the BMW his wife April was driving through Burlington County, New Jersey in 2005. According to the police records search, Mr. Florence had an outstanding warrant for an unpaid fine, which turned out to be erroneous, as the fine had been paid. But facts are incidental to law enforcement, it seems, and sure didn't stop his jailers in Burlington and Essex counties from ordering him to drop him and spread him on command. Mr. Florence's attorneys thought they were on solid ground, taking this all the way to the highest level. After all, strip searches are already forbidden by statute in at least 10 states and do contradict existing federal policies. International human rights treaties also ban the procedure. But in the age of Abu Ghraib, we needn't be too overly surprised by this. The gross humiliations inflicted upon sand niggers by white trash military jailers far away are now endorsed as normative correctional procedure against niggers at home by white trash civilian jailers. Several state and local jurisdictions have already spread the reach of the law around the Fourth Amendment, and thanks to those 5 endorsees of rape and molestation, Chief Justice Roberts and Justices Kennedy, Scalia, Alito, and last but never least, Clarence Thomas, and yes, I believe Anita Hill any goddamn day, you can be now stripped, told to cough, and bend over and show your goat's eye for the following: violating a leash law, speeding, driving without a license, failing to pay child support, driving with a noisy muffler, failing to use a turn signal, or riding a bicycle without an audible bell. All real violations, whose offenders were deemed worthy of the most careful and intimate scrutiny, including a nun defrocked for trespass during an anti-war demonstration. Justice Kennedy, though let it be known that those detained for minor offenses can turn out to be the most devious and dangerous criminals, like Timothy McVeigh or one of the 9/11 terrorists, both stopped for minor traffic violations. And so, does the Chief Justice really expect either one to have had a rectal tube of C4 jammed up his asshole just waiting for the probing fingers of his state power? Where are libertarians after this abomination of a court decision? Nowhere that I'm aware of. It's left to Marxist commie totalitarians, like me, to blow the cover off the sordid practices of American jurisprudence. Joseph Stalin at least had some moral standards left in his gulags, unlike American prisons. Of course, many unworthies welcomed this decision, such as Darren Hall, Sheriff of Nashville and Metro Davidson County, Tennessee, and President of the American Correctional Association. He praised the flexibility of this decision, an exact quote, and will no doubt give a personal hand in testing this flexibility. Not all the injustices of the U.S. Supreme Court endorse this perversion of legal procedure, unlike Chief Justice Roberts or Justices Scalia, Alito, Kennedy, and last but far from least, Justice Thomas. All 3 of the court's female justices, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sonia Sotomayor, and Alina Kagan, knew rape when they smelled it, while Justice Stephen J. Breyer, joining their dissent and writing their dissenting brief, said this ruling constitutes a serious affront to human dignity and personal privacy, that the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution should be understood to bar strip searches of those arrested for minor offenses not involving drugs, violence, or reasonable suspicion of contraband. Nor does this procedure really have anything to do with correctional security. In a study of 23,000 inmates admitted to a facility in Orange County, New York, there was but 1 instance of contraband extracted over and above less intrusive procedures. The real point is to humiliate and degrade the prisoner, to assert power over him or her, to remind him or her of his or her place in American society through an overt form of psychological torture, enhanced search. And since, as we know, only low-class people are ever stopped by the police, Mitt Romney voters can be expected to have the connections that make this impossible, this is all part and parcel of the class justice that already stuffs U.S. prisons to blowout proportions, allowing the rich to buy elections while pummeling the poor with psychological and physical degradation at local police stations. Americans, behold your democracy in action. That's how your highest court has defined it anyhow. And the average American will just bend over and take it. Gone are the likes of Martin Luther King, taking a page from Gandhi, who advised his listeners not to give their fingerprints to South African police, even to the point of torture or death. So, you American folks out there in Tubeland, how much longer are you going to allow them to fuck you like this? How much more brazen does it have to get before you say enough? To hell with the Supreme Court of the United States and the 5 legal perverts of its majority, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices Kennedy, Alito, Scalia, and, last but never least, Justice I knew I'd hear the phone after this one. All right. Hello? FBI, CIA, Homeland Security. Which one? Oh, who? David Koch? You just want to remind the American people who's been fucking with them already for years? And the U.S. Supreme Court has been retained to enforce this law of the land? Looks like the hidden hand of the market is reaching even further. Wall Street's already stolen its people's money. Why not rob them of their most intimate human dignity, too? Right, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices Kennedy, Scalia, Alito, and... hell, what's the name of that other John Thomas grabbing pervert?